Guys, I have compiled a lot of stuff today, so we're going to have to get right into it in order to get through everything. But real quick, if you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button does help me out. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, this is the type of thing that I do on the channel, so consider hitting subscribe to stick around for more. Now, Joy Reid has been canceled, and I am not here to mock anyone. I am not here to celebrate someone losing their job, though from everything that I have seen, Joy Reid would celebrate someone else losing their job. I have to be 1000% honest. I've never watched Joy Reid. I have seen clips of Joy Reid. The clips of Joy Reid that I have consumed seem fairly unhinged and probably more than fairly unhinged. That is the trajectory that I have noticed from Joy Reid. Fairly unhinged, traveling up to absolutely psychotic. But I want to give benefit of the doubt here. We're going to assume that everything I've seen has been taken out of context, just for the sake of this video. We're going to assume, for the sake of this video, perhaps Joy Reid is actually, when she's not in a fit or a rant, which, let's face it, all commentators get on from time to time, when she's not on one of those psychotic breaks, will pretend, for the sake of this show, for the sake of fairness, for the sake of the point that I'm going to make in this video, that Joy Reid is more or less a middle-of-the-road leftist. We'll pretend that everything I've seen from her is just her at her worst. There are some things worth commenting on here that I think, even if you understand, even if you know beforehand where I'm going with this video, I think will be surprising to an extent. I think that probably most of us have heard a lot of the things in this video, but seeing them all in one place is kind of out there. In an article titled Joy Reid Net Worth, Earnings, and Salary, which I have skipped that part for the most part, as MSNBC show canceled from Newsweek by Daniel Cody, we get the following. MSNBC has canceled The Readout as part of a major programming overhaul. Major programming overhaul. The network's decision to cancel the 7 p.m. show hosted by Joy Reid comes amid broader changes following the appointment of new president Rebecca Cutler. As Reid's primetime show ends, some may be wondering about her salary at MSNBC and her overall net worth. I don't really care about that. Although, I will say, reportedly, she's worth approximately $4 million, and for someone who is in that position, that seems light. Why was the Readout canceled? MSNBC has not publicly commented on the reason for Reid's departure from the 7 p.m. slot, which is part of a larger restructuring under Cutler. The last episode of the Readout is scheduled to air this week, a source familiar with the matter previously told Newsweek. A new panel program featuring Simone Sanders Townsend, Michael Steele, and Alicia Menendez, who co-host The Weekend, is set to replace Reid's show. The new show is scheduled to air at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays with a 2-hour format on Mondays. As MSNBC readjusts its primetime lineup, it is unclear whether Reid will remain at the network or in a different role. This is an interesting quirk to this story, at least as far as I know right now. Joy Reid is a very big question mark right now. What is happening with Joy Reid? Was she outright fired? Was this like Jim Acosta, where he was told, hey, why don't you take this real late night role? Which is another way of firing you by giving you the opportunity to step down. I believe, from what I have seen from Joy Reid, she has more fire than Jim Acosta, and that Joy Reid is the type to say, you're going to have to fire me. I am not falling on that grenade. You are going to have to out me. I believe that might be what is happening. We don't know yet if Joy Reid has been offered another position. this will not be the last left-wing commentator, big name left-wing commentator, to be exited from one of these networks, and it certainly was not the first. From AP, CNN's Jim Acosta, an irritant to Trump, says he's quitting rather than take a late-night time slot. CNN, in a statement, said Jim has had a long-time, distinguished, nearly 20-year career at CNN, with a track record of standing up to authority for the First Amendment and our journalistic freedoms. We want to thank him for the dedication and commitment he's brought to his reporting and wish him the very best in his future. Now, this is an interesting statement from CNN. Keep it in mind, keep the tone in mind, keep the tenor in mind, keep the general approach to this in mind. We are going to see something like it, very, very like this, a little bit later in the video, but this is CNN telling you they fired Jim Acosta. This is CNN admitting they fired Jim Acosta. They are wrapping it in this language in order to present it to you. From Politico, this was from January of 2024. I believe there's one article here from 2023, but everything else is more recent than January 24. So this is all pretty recent stuff. Mehdi Hasan announces he's leaving MSNBC after show cancellation. Hasan's departure comes after it was announced in November that MSNBC was canceling his show. Yes, I've decided to leave, Hasan said at the end of his final show. To be clear, I am so proud, so proud of what we've achieved on this show, on this network, and I can't thank you enough for tuning in, for your support and your feedback. But as I say, new year, new plans. I cannot thank you enough for tuning in. Hasan's departure comes after it was announced that MSNBC was canceling his show. Kind of sounds like they weren't tuning in. Why else do you let someone go in this fashion? MSNBC confirmed Hasan's departure in a statement to Politico in a November email announcing the shakeup, which also included the announcement of a new morning show. MSNBC President Rashida Jones told staff that the network has the opportunity to build our accomplishments and keep the momentum going into 2024 and beyond. So he was let go in 2023. She did not provide specifics on why the show was being canceled, and Hasan would remain as a fill-in host and commentator when his show went off the air. Representative Ro Khanna, Democrat California, posted to X in November that it was bad optics for MSNBC to end the show at a time when he is vocal for human rights in Gaza with the war ongoing. This is actually a big deal. Why is this a big deal? Because he is being fired from MSNBC, despite the fact that he is a very large voice for the human rights initiatives in Gaza, and has long been. I mean, this is one of the things the type of things that he has been on for a very long time. MSNBC, very far left, let go of Mehdi Hasan, despite the fact that he might have been in the mainstream media the biggest voice, the biggest proponent for Gaza. They didn't care. They couldn't care. They had to not care. From New York Post, the reason behind Chris Wallace's CNN exit revealed in report. Now, we just keep going. CNN anchor Chris Wallace was reportedly told his two poorly rated shows. Now, New York Post is a right-wing sort of publication, so a little bit you're going to have things painted to the negative here, whereas in the other articles we've had a lot of things painted to the positive. CNN anchor Chris Wallace was reportedly told his two poorly rated shows would be canceled and his massive salary slashed before the veteran journalist announced he would leave the network. Wallace, who was being paid a reported $7 million a year, That is not lightweight. Was informed that he was welcome to stay on as an analyst, but at a much lower salary. You're being demoted, or you can quit. Part of CEO Mark Thompson's vast cost-cutting initiatives, according to Puck News. This is CNN. Poor ratings, cost-cutting. Instead, Wallace announced earlier this week that he was exiting CNN and portrayed a move in a Daily Beast interview as a pivot to podcasting and streaming. Now, I have absolutely no ideas because, he said, that's where the action seems to be, he said. I have absolutely no idea how Chris Wallace is doing podcasting. I know who Chris Wallace is. I can't imagine it's very well. Might be wrong. I didn't even look. I just realized this. Don Lemon's not even in this little rant here. Don Lemon fired. Don Lemon went on his own. Don Lemon seems to be, perhaps I'm wrong, and everyone has their own ideas of success and failure. Don Lemon, though he came from a very large corporation, maybe he considers what he's doing now a success. There are a lot of videos on Don Lemon's channel that do not get views. I checked just a couple weeks ago for a video that I made. From CBS 19 News. This one is perhaps the opposite direction, but it's the same result. CBS News ratings collapse after Norah O'Donnell exit. CBS News' recent changes that were meant to entice viewers seem to be failing as the network's evening news program continues its ratings woes following the exit of longtime anchor Norah O'Donnell. Veteran journalist O'Donnell anchored her final episode of the evening news on January 23rd. She was replaced by John Dickerson and Maurice Dubois for a new-look version of the program, which took on a more 60 Minutes style magazine format. Rather than rattling through the headlines, the new show provides longer segments on specific topics. However, it appears the new format is struggling to connect with viewers, as CBS Evening News saw a 24% drop in the 25 to 54. That's the key demo. The 25 to 54 demographic when compared to the same period last year per Nielsen's ratings. This from Deadline. The hits keep on coming, guys. Andrea Mitchell anchors final MSNBC show with surprise send-off from present and former colleagues. Andrea Mitchell anchored her final edition of MSNBC's long-running Andrea Mitchell Reports with staffers and colleagues past and present entering the studio to give her an ovation as she wrapped up the show. Mitchell's show has been on the network since 2008, when she announced in October that she would be stepping down from the program but would remain at NBC News as chief Washington correspondent and chief foreign affairs correspondent. From the AP, former Meet the Press moderator Chuck Todd exits NBC News after nearly 2 decades. And here's another thing. Maybe you don't know these names. I didn't know these names. I recognized the people. Chuck Todd, had no idea what his name was, but I've seen him I've seen him cut up and segmented out on a million YouTube videos because of kind of lame-brained takes. Former Meet the Press moderator Chuck Todd exits NBC after nearly 2 decades. This is NBC as well. National media can't win trust back without having a robust partner locally. Trying to game algorithms is no way to inform and report, he wrote, he being Chuck Todd himself. This was his statement as he left. People are craving community, and that's something national media or the major social media companies can't do as well as local media. Reporting is key to winning back public support, he said. If you do this job seeking popularity or simply to be an activist, he said, you are doing this job incorrectly. Well, sir, I have bad news for you. But I would also say that the fact that he was planting this flag of the national media can't win back the mainstream without local reporters and how important local reporters are, it makes me wonder if Chuck Todd is taking a local job somewhere. Is he going to be a nightly news reporter in New York or Los Angeles, one of these places? Look, I'm just a small fish. I'm a guy who works a full-time job and then does this after work. but I can recognize a demotion when I see one. Now, this is from Elon Musk, had tweeted this on X. Average for ABC, CBS, and NBC, all of them declining precipitously between 2014 and here in 2023. And I do not have the numbers. By 2025, I can guarantee you, here we are in February 2025, these numbers are much worse. Fox News is the best individual going. CNN is tanking, and MSNBC is somehow has ratings better than CNN, but that is as of 2023. We do not know, or I don't have the numbers as of right now. So the commentary to be had here, roundly, robustly, the legacy media is failing. The legacy media is finding it untenable to play the game that they have been playing. Now, that does not mean that they have to change everything. Now, that does not mean that they have to come at things from a more decidedly neutral tone. It does not mean that. What it means is the people who have been spouting these issues, the people who have been growing in stature, the people who have been ascending these ranks and becoming better paid, have priced themselves out of the market. It could be CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, NBC, all of these places that we have just talked about, firing all of these individuals. Replace lame-brained individuals that are just the same thing after them. It could be. They're the same types of quote-unquote reporting, the same types of lame-brain take, the same types of absolutely over-the-top, ignominious ranting. It could be that the next people they bring in are the same types of people, but they cost 10 times, or they cost 1/10 as much as the people, the Chuck Todds, the Joy Reids, the Jim Acostas had cost. Perhaps that is the move. Perhaps that is the only move. We're going to take costs down and see if we can perpetuate the same types of talking points. However, I think they're going to find it very, very different than what they're expecting if that is their game plan. I'm going to say why. From the New York Post by Joe Concha, free-falling media face grim prospects as reach influence wane. As 2025 dawns, legacy media are in free fall, their public trust in tatters, their viewership and readership cratering. The wounds are a result of two factors. First, the landscape of legacy media, once controlled, is no more. No longer do the liberal media ecosystems of New York and Washington, D.C. set the terms of the national conversation. No longer do a handful of major corporate entities like ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and the New York Times and the Washington Post regulate thought and debate. And we have seen a large moving of the Overton window because of this. Instead, the most listened to broadcast is the Joe Rogan podcast out of Austin, Texas, averaging 11 million viewers per episode. For context, CNN can't attract more than 400,000 viewers for its primetime lineup these days, less than 4% of what Joe Rogan generates. Online, Elon Musk's X is the number one source for news in the world. Meanwhile, to take one example, the Washington Post lost more than $70 million and 50% of its audience from 2023, is reportedly on track to lose more than $75 million in 2024. Several prominent reporters have fled the paper for more liberal confines, such as The Atlantic. Second, and a major reason for the exodus is the loss of respect that followed the legacy media's gross breaches of integrity and ethics in recent years. Many in the media debased themselves by blatantly lying about the state of Joe Biden's cognitive abilities or lack thereof. They openly cheered on Kamala Harris's campaign and tried to etch-a-sketch her radical positions and those of her goofy running mate Tim Walz out of existence. I'm just going to skip forward a little bit. Overall, according to Gallup, just 27% of independent voters trust the media, and only 12% of Republicans say the same thing. With those factors as the backdrop, watch for these three media trends in 2025. Number one, more journalists going independent. We've just seen a rash of journalists, the aforementioned journalists who say they're going independent. The old days of brick and mortar newsrooms are the absolutely necessary requirement for quality reporting are over. Great investigative reporters such as Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberger, Barry Weiss, and Catherine Herridge have been jumping over to the subscriber-based Substack, or in Weiss's case, launching the Free Press, her own online publication. I am just going to put this out there. From what I know of the individuals that we just talked about, Chuck Todd, Jim Acosta, Joy Reid, etc., they're not Matt Taibbi or Michael Schellenberger. I don't know Catherine Herridge. I don't really like Barry Weiss. They're not those people. Barry Weiss, I absolutely respect her grind, right? I don't really agree with her on a whole lot. I think that she gets out over her skis sometimes, and I will give Catherine Herridge the benefit of the doubt for the sake of the argument that she is on par with Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger. Jim Acosta is not. Don Lemon has proven that he is not. So they're going to get into the point of being independent creators, and it's all on their back now. And they're going to fall on their face. It is not the same thing as sitting at a desk and reading headlines. It is not the same thing as having a teleprompter in front of you, which, by the way, it appears Don Lemon has a teleprompter for his YouTube show, which is wild. It's not the same thing as that. It is not the same thing as being provided for. Being an independent creator is nutso compared to what these people are used to, and they are not going to like it. Pay cuts and layoffs. The days of big contracts for network and cable news hosts are coming to an end. We've already seen stars like Rachel Maddow take a $5 million annual pay cut, while veterans such as Chris Wallace jump ship at CNN for his own podcast instead. Reason, the 77-year-old who was reportedly pulling down $7 million annually, was told he could stay only if he took a sizable slash in his salary. So that is kind of what I needed from that article. Moving forward in 2025, I expect more such lawsuits. Jim Acosta, I'll just skip this for now. Here's the big idea here. This is Joe Rogan's Social Blade. Social Blade is a website where you can track the progress of YouTube channels, Twitter accounts, things like that. Joe Rogan has 19.4 million subscribers. He has 5.88 billion video views. And remember, he had a while, was it 4 years or so, I think? 3-4 years, maybe 5, where he was off YouTube. He was just doing clips, I think. He averages 6,660 subscribers per day. Now, that is a little bit not the case, probably, because once you get to certain milestones, like with millions, it only updates your subscriber count to 100,000s. So it will not update from 19.4 million until it hits 19.5 million. So these numbers are going to be skewed a little bit. Averages 46,000 subscribers a week and 200,000 subscribers a month. Averages 2 million views per day. This is one guy doing a podcast, not even uploading every day. Averages 14 million per week, 60 million per month. Joe Rogan is loaded. Let's move on. Tim Pool. This is one of Tim Pool's 3 channels. Tim Pool with 1.4 million subscribers on the Tim Pool Timcast channel. Pulls in, so 1.4 million subscribers, 504 million views since December 22nd, 2011. Averages Now, again, this is where Tim Pool is a victim of his own success here. It says averaging 0 subscribers per day. That's because he's not hitting 100,000 every 30 days. But he's getting 79,000 views on his this might just be the Tim Cast where he uploads individual segments. 2,300,000 views per month. Those estimates are off, but clearly probably over $114,000 per year on this channel alone. He has 3 of them. Let's move forward. The Patrick Bet David podcast. 2.47 million subscribers, 555 million views. Averaging 1,000 subscribers a day, 30,000 a month, 523,000 views per day, 15.7 million views per month, looking like probably on the upward side of $750,000 per year through this one AdSense account. That's not including sponsorships. That's not including the things he sells, merchandise. That's not including the opportunities that come to him because he has 2.47 million subscribers. Now, maybe I'm being unfair. I'm willing to entertain the idea that pointing out these people's success when there is a secular climate towards these are all right-leaning people right now. 2 of the 3, Tim Pool and Joe Rogan, were not. Patrick Bet David, I think, has always been like a fiscally conservative kind of guy. I've watched Patrick Bet David since he was selling red subscribe button pillows on the channel, so that just tells you. And this is not the only YouTube channel he has. So let's take a look at the Young Turks. Left-leaning. One of the longest running since 2005 left-leaning channels on YouTube, 6.06 million subscribers, basically 7 billion views. They're averaging 334 subscribers per day, 538,000 views per day, and they're growing every day despite the fact that shortly after the election, they precipitously lost subscribers, but they have been growing since then. Guys, this is not what the point I'm getting at here. This is not just a secular shift towards conservatism. What this represents is a secular shift away from the legacy media. You have this here, the Young Turks still growing on a daily basis by hundreds of subscribers. 500,000 views per day on this channel. I believe they have multiple channels, but I do not know that for sure. The legacy media is cooked. It's because they're all left-wing and nut jobs. Sure, yeah, that's contributing. That is definitively a contributing factor. But it's because there is a secular shift towards alternative media options. YouTube. That's true. It's also because they have absolutely abolished their own credibility. These are all factors leading to the legacy media absolutely collapsing. Where does it stop? What does the new world of media look like? And what is next? That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other individuals interested in these matters. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button. Stick around for more videos like this in the future. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.